Leonor of Spain just celebrated her 18th birthday with Leonor Mania. Apparently the Spaniards were enthralled with their young heir. But that's not the only country to experience a royal coming into majority. We actually have Princess Elizabeth of the Belgians, Catherine Amalia of the Netherlands, Ingrid Alexandra of Norway, we have Prince Christian of Denmark, and Princess Leonor of Spain. Yes, many young royals are coming of age, and we have a lot of exciting things to look forward to, including more royal fashion, more royal trips, more royal engagements, and just the beginnings of these young lives when it comes to marriage, children, families, all these sorts of things that we will hopefully get to experience within the next 10 years. And I think this is just so exciting. It's so exciting to have a new generation of royals coming up, because we had a series of weddings in the early 2000s. We had Crown Princess Mary and Crown Prince Frederick of Denmark. We had Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway. We had obviously King Philippe and Queen Letizia of Spain, Maxima and Willem Alexander of the Netherlands, and just so many other royals who got married during this time, and now all their children are reaching 18 years of age. And it's awesome to see this new generation coming up. How much do you know about these future queens and king? Today we will go over and I will introduce to you 5 of the most recent royals who have turned 18 who will be the future monarchs of their country. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany and I provide you all compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes the drama going on behind the scenes. I also have a newsletter, a fashion channel related to royalty, and I also have a membership. So if you want some behind the scenes things for my highest level, I just released a video with a very interesting story regarding Meghan's mirror. So if you guys are ever interested in some additional content, I do have that there as well. And I also, if you like my jewelry, it's Ana Lucia Jewelry. You can find the links and for that down below. And I've been working with them and we had a giveaway with that. So I will be working on processing and figuring out who our winner is. And we also have lots of other royal news going on. We have Catherine returning to the working royal folk. She went to basically a dad Avenger group. They're just a group of dads who create this community with their children. And so she was there as part of her early years project, Shaping Us. And so it's great to see Catherine back and working. Her and William took a bit of a fall break while their children were out of school. I will say I wanted maybe them to do, if they could, just at least one engagement during that time, because it's been about close to 3 weeks since we've last seen them. So it was just exciting to see them getting back to work. And then we also have Prince William obviously heading out for the Earthshot prize here before too long. His trip on that will begin on the 5th. But on November 2nd, which will probably be the day this video uploads, is that Catherine and William will be in Scotland doing a couple of engagements there as well. Charles and Camilla are also in Kenya doing their official royal tour. So this is very exciting and very important because this is the first Commonwealth country that the royals are touring. It obviously has special connections as well to Queen Elizabeth, who found out her father had passed away while on tour in Kenya. And that is where William proposed to Catherine. So very special connections there. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of the King's speech here.
It was here in sight of Mount Kenya that my son, the Prince of Wales, proposed to his wife, now my beloved daughter-in-law.
And why this tour is so important is, and so it's an opportunity for Charles to reframe his relationships with these Commonwealth countries and both address the issues of the past, but hopefully not go down the reparations path. We also have some royals celebrating Halloween. We had Princess Madeline of Sweden who shared a lovely picture on her official Instagram page of her family, including her 3 children, Princess Leonor as well, because Leonor, Eleanor, popular name. And then we also have Prince Nicholas and Princess Adrienne. And what I love about Princess Adrienne is that she is wearing a Princess Anna outfit. So I just find it so iconic and awesome and epic that a princess of Sweden is wearing a costume from Princess Anna in Frozen. I feel like that there's just so much there that's wonderful and lovely and connected to her family's history in so many ways. And we also have Prince Harry and Meghan Markle apparently taking their kids out trick-or-treating. Apparently they do take their kids out of the house from time to time. That's always a good thing to confirm because they seem to spend a lot of time away from their children the last several weeks. And I know a lot of people are talking about how it's not them and they're like doing all these diagrams showing the heights aren't right. This is from last year. Honestly, I don't really care. I would imagine the picture is accurate and it did look like definitely Harry from behind, but you really couldn't say the same thing about Meghan because it was just so blurred and kind of a blob that you just couldn't see. Though what's interesting though, that they weren't surrounded by that security that they so desperately need all the time. Just putting that out there. But now let's get back to our main story, which is about these 5 young royals. I just thought this would be a lot of fun. I've been thinking about this video. I actually did in my email newsletter via Substack. I did a bit about this as well because I just thought it was so exciting to see these young royals coming to the forefront. It's just amazing to see this growth here. And it's just awesome to know that the future is continuing. We'll have new royal fashion, new interpretations of royal engagements, and we'll really see the monarchy slowly start to evolve over time, especially when it comes to, I think, the Netherlands. They're definitely the most progressive, I think, in a lot of ways, including in Norway, and I'll get into that a bit, but I thought we'd go by birth order here because the first royal to reach the age of majority in this younger generation is Princess Elizabeth. I'm trying to soften the Z that we usually say with Elizabeth, but Elizabeth of the Belgians. And Princess Elizabeth was born on October 25th, 2001. So her official title as the heir designate is the Duchess of Brabant. And that is the title her parents held before they ascended the throne. So they came to the throne actually after a scandal regarding Prince Philip's father, Prince Albert. And so Prince Albert had to abdicate and Philip became king. And all of a sudden, Princess Elizabeth became the heir. But actually, it wouldn't have gone through Elizabeth technically because we have a little bit of a Queen Elizabeth II situation here because the initial king, Prince Albert's older brother, Bedouin, actually did not have children. Him and his wife, Queen Fabiola, actually did not end up having any children. And instead of, you could say, divorcing his wife and trying to find a different woman to have children with, he loved his wife so much that he stayed within that marriage. And so because of that, once Bedouin died in the early 90s, then all of a sudden Albert became king. And because Albert became king, his son after him also became king. So again, a little bit, not quite the same. So you have a similation to Queen Elizabeth II, who really should not have been queen because if her uncle Edward had married a different woman and they had had children, she would not be near the throne at all. So it is just interesting to consider some of those things. So Princess Elizabeth grew up in Belgium, obviously, and she speaks several languages because the official languages of Belgium are French, Dutch, and German. So she speaks all 3 of those, including English, because she actually went to UWC. So that is a college in Wales that several royals have actually gone to. And now she is going to the University of Oxford and she's studying politics and history. And the official college she's at is Lincoln College. And so she has spent a year at the Military Academy as well, and she also attended a Yale Young Scholars program, so she is a bright cookie. Her first royal engagement was the inauguration of the Princess Elizabeth Children's Hospital. And she also visited Kenya with her mother in 2019 and also most recently in Egypt in 2023. And this had a special connection to Belgium because Queen Elizabeth, who you could say Elizabeth was named after, in 1923 she actually got permission to visit the tomb of Tutankhamun not too long after that was discovered, which was actually 101 years ago, like later this week. I can't believe last year I missed the 100th anniversary of the finding of Tutankhamun's tomb. Still a little bit bummed about that, I'm not gonna lie. And so she enjoys skiing, rowing, and sailing, and walks in nature. And I love it how some of the royal households, not all of them, but some of them, give us like a biography of what these young people like to do because it's helpful because these people will be the future leaders of their countries. So it's nice to have something where you can get a feel for them. And so a lot of this comes from the official Belgian website. She also likes spending her free time with her brothers and sisters. So she actually has 2 brothers and 1 younger sister. And so she is very close with them. And she actually plays the piano and likes to read and spend time with her friends, which I thought was adorable. She seems very adorable to me, very, very sweet from what we see. I mean, obviously, you don't totally know until you meet somebody, but she comes across as very sweet and genuine. And she was one of those as well who conversed with people during the COVID pandemic, elderly people, talking to them and those sorts of things, sort of like Catherine and Sophie did over there in the UK. And she's gone to a couple of big foreign royal events. So this includes the coronation reception that happened before King Charles's coronation. She went there with her father. Her mother attended with her father the next day at the actual coronation itself. And she also went with her father to the wedding of Crown Prince Hussein of Jordan. And her first tiara appearance was actually at the 18th birthday of another lady on our list here, and that is Princess Ingrid Alexandra of Norway. So we saw Princess Elizabeth for the first time wearing a tiara, and it was one actually purchased for her. Belgium has a very, very tiny tiara collection, and so they actually purchased one for her. It's most likely an antique. We didn't get too many details on it because oftentimes they like to keep these things close to the vest, but we've seen it, I think, in other pictures. So it was just very exciting for her to have one. And she also recently attended the 18th birthday gala of Prince Christian of Denmark as well. And she wore a new tiara to her, which is the Wolfers tiara, which can be a necklace that converts into a tiara. So she's gone through a lot of big royal engagements, and so she's slowly starting to really dip her toes into this royal world. And when it comes to the challenges, she has a couple. The biggest one is probably throne instability because of the transition of power between Albert and Philippe being sort of forced upon the family. It does seem to be a bit more challenging in some ways because you do have some probably aspects of the country like, wait, royals need to act a certain way. So the king actually had a child out of wedlock. She sued to get her royal title. And that is probably a very condensed version of the story, but that's just the gist of it. And so King Albert, his illegitimate daughter, now goes to royal engagements and stuff like that. So you have an interesting family dynamic at play here, which I think will continue to impact the family into the future. But I do think she's incredibly dedicated. I think she has had a great showing, looking very professional and very royal at the engagements that she's attended, and that she's getting to do some of these bigger events I think is really, really critical. So I can't wait to see her continue to grow in her royal role. All right, next we have Princess Catherine Amalia of the Netherlands, who was born on December 7th, 2003. And so she enjoys horseback riding and tennis. And interesting fact, she actually ended up working at a beach bar during the summer in The Hague, I think during her high school years and now into college. And so she actually did take a gap year after she finished high school. And she also is interested in mental health and has admitted to visiting a therapist, and she has also expressed support for LGBT issues. And so she ended up enrolling at the University of Amsterdam, and she did end up having to pull out for a period of time and then move back in with her parents because there are apparently some very severe threats on her life, and so they decided to go ahead and remove her from that environment for her safety, which was, I think, probably very traumatic because she actually went and got a student apartment and everything, was having roommates. So she really wanted to have the full experience, but because of the security risk, it was deemed that it wasn't going to work. And so go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of Queen Maxima and King Wilhelm Alexander talking about it. They were at a foreign event in Sweden, so there are subtitles here so you can follow along a little bit.
Het heeft enorme consequenties voor haar leven. En dat betekent natuurlijk dat ze niet in Amsterdam woont en dat ze ook niet echt naar buiten kan. En die consequenties zijn heel moeilijk voor haar. Dus het is voor haar geen studentenleven zoals andere studenten dat hebben. Ik ben echt heel trots op haar hoe ze dit allemaal volhoudt, moet ik eerlijk zeggen.
And so when she turned 18, she could have received an allowance of about 1.4 million pounds per year. I mean, can you imagine that? You're 18 and the government's like, okay, we're going to give you 1.4 million pounds per year. And be like, yay, give me. So she decided not to take it though, and I like her quote here. She said, on 7 December 2021, I will be 18 and according to law receive an allowance. I find that uncomfortable as long as I do not do anything for it in return. So that is exciting for her to see. And she also has the opportunity, which is very interesting because the Netherlands is very progressive, that if she decides to marry somebody of her own gender, she can do so. Which I don't think will be the same probably in other countries. Some places that are more conservative or generally lean more Catholic, I think that'll be a much harder situation. And this came about in part because it was decided that Catherine Amalia and her sisters will not need parliamentary approval to marry who they want to marry. So this was the case actually with Wilhelm Alexander's brother, Prince Friso. His brother decided to marry a woman named Mabel, and because she had some iffy connections in certain places, I think in the criminal underworld, actually, believe it or not, I think she dated, I can't remember quite the exact story. I want to say she like dated a mafia guy essentially. And so it was decided that they really couldn't get congressional approval for their marriage, but they married anyways, and he and his daughters were removed from the line of succession, although sadly he did end up passing away in an avalanche accident. So he had the accident and then he was in the hospital in a coma for a period of time before eventually passing away. And this is part of the reason why actually Catherine Amalia is the heir right now. Her official title is the Princess of Orange, orange, and she became that in 2013. And that's because her grandmother decided to abdicate. In the Netherlands, there is a history of abdication, and actually her great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother, I think all actually abdicated their positions. And so this was something that became sort of a tradition in the Netherlands, and something Willem-Alexander and Maxima will continue. And I believe they've said in an interview that they will speak with Amalia at some point when it's determined that they are set, she is set, and she is ready to take on that role. And Amalia has also said if her father passes away suddenly for any reason, she would actually probably ask her mother to help her as regent, because she still feels that she isn't quite there yet, which I thought was very mature of her. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of this here, and there will be subtitles again when she goes. So this was for her 18th birthday, was still in the middle of the pandemic, and she went in parliament and sort of become more official within the royal context as she turned 18.
Vooral zie is dat zowel mijn grootmoeder als mijn vader, de twee staatshoofden die ik heb mogen zien, mij ook enorm raakt. En wat ik ook in allebei zie, is de dienstbaarheid en de toewijding die ze aan het ambt hebben. En dat is ook iets wat ik mee ga nemen in de toekomst.
And another interesting thing about Catherine Amalia is that apparently she is a big fan of royal jewelry. We actually saw this in her biography. So yes, I went to the Netherlands on my last day and I ran around trying to find this book because this book is a biography on Amalia. It's very small, and she actually helped with this. So this is her and the author in the back here. And I just thought this would be cool. It says obviously all in Dutch to just have it as a reference. And sort of one of the famous pictures that got everybody in the royal world like, oh my goodness, is this picture here of her wearing one of her mother's tiaras. So apparently she is very, very into tiaras, and actually said that you could tell her or give her a picture of any tiara and she could tell you the provenance of it. So she is a bit of a royal nerd like the rest of us, and she's had an opportunity to wear a couple of tiaras, most notably the peacock, and I'm not certain on the name, but I call it the star tiara that her mother wore on her wedding day, and as well the sapphire necklace tiara. So she is definitely of the younger generation blessed us with the most tiara appearances. I think we've had 2 with the peacock, 1 with the star, 1 with the sapphire. So I think at least 4, maybe 5, because I know one of them was at a private wedding, one of them was at the Crown Prince of Jordan's wedding. So she's had an opportunity to really flex her tiara leg already. The Netherlands is blessed with an excellent tiara collection. So I'm so excited to see her there and doing that, because I think it is so, so exciting. And she's also had the opportunity to attend her first royal tour with her parents. They went to the Dutch Caribbean, and so they toured around several islands, and that was an opportunity for her to dip her toe into the royal waters, as you will. And she was, I think, really nervous on that trip, and her mom's very flamboyant, so I think she's sort of a little bit shy. So I look forward to seeing her come out of her shell a bit, and I think she is growing in her confidence. But I think some of her challenges will be is that the Dutch royals are pretty popular, but at the same time, they've also made some missteps in the last couple of years. One of the big ones was that they took a vacation to Greece while there were COVID lockdowns, and there was actually an entire video where Queen Maxima and King Willem-Alexander had to apologize for that. And so those things tend to grate on people over time. So I think there's somewhat some complacency, and you could say maybe even a smidge of arrogance within the Dutch royals that they have to be careful about, because royalty is all about, yes, being regal, wearing very expensive jewelry, but you also can't push it too far where you're unapproachable. There's a very careful balance you have to walk here, and I think sometimes the Dutch lean a bit too into the extravagance of everything. But I think the benefit is that she has a great teacher, and not only her father, but her grandmother as well. I think the great thing about the Dutch tradition of abdication is that you have even 2 generations of royals that you can lean on to help teach you and guide you through this process. So I think that's really exciting, and I look forward to seeing her continue to grow in the royal spotlight, and many more tiara appearances to come, and I hope she graces us with so much jewelry. So much jewelry, Catherine Amalia. We love that you love the jewelry, because we love it too. Okay, next is Princess Ingrid Alexandra of Norway, and I'm really excited for Ingrid Alexandra because her birthday happened sort of as everything was loosening up after the pandemic. Unfortunately for Catherine Amalia, she didn't get a big birthday blowout. Oh, and I will add too, she did have like a private birthday event, and that was also a bit contentious because they may have violated some of the COVID protocols. So again, Dutch royals, careful balance there, guys. You may be dipping a little bit too into pushing it with people and demonstrating your privilege. Again, royalty is all about having this privilege and yet not flaunting it to such an extent that you distance yourself from people. Again, it's a really unique balance to walk. Like I said, Ingrid Alexandra of Norway. And so she has a really, really interesting family dynamic here because she is pretty much the only royal that has a half-brother who was not born within the royal family. So her mom was actually a single mother when she married her now husband, Crown Prince Haakon of Norway. So this, I don't think we've seen this in any other royal family dynamic. Yes, we've had, so example, I don't think I can't remember her exact title anymore, but Princess Tessie, she was married to one of the Luxembourg children from the Grand Duke and Duchess of Luxembourg. She married her husband very young. They had 2 sons, and then they ended up divorcing and she had another child. So her sons do have a half-brother who is not royal, but it is a different situation when a single mom marries in. But her and Haakon fell in love and they got married, and Ingrid Alexandra was born on the 21st of January 2004. And so she is the second in line to the Norwegian throne. And since she has turned 18, she has actually been given an official office within the palace, but she's not really a full-time working royal yet. We do see her at engagements and at events, but she's not really a full-time working royal because she is still continuing her education at this point. And I think she's probably still somewhat on a gap year. And so she is interested in environmental protection and climate change, which is a very much a trend within young royals. And I think especially because Norway is so nature driven, I feel like they love nature and they have this beautiful natural scenery. So I was in Sweden and in Stockholm, which was amazingly and lovely, and you get a little bit of that sense there, just this nature, and that even though Stockholm is a big city, there's also a lot of green areas and stuff like that. It's very beautiful. So I feel like Norway is very similar in that way. And so her first official engagement was at the Holmenkollen Ski Jumping Festival, which is something the royal family does every year, including their Constitution Day in May. So that's something she attended as a young girl. She also participated in the Children's Parade in 2009 for World Environment Day. And this was another one of her big first engagements. But her first individual engagement was at the christening of the Norwegian Society for Sea Rescue vessel Elias, and then she later christened another research vessel, this time named after her father, Crown Prince Haakon. And so she also participated and helped with the Princess Ingrid Alexandra Sculpture Park, which includes sculptures made for children and by children. And she actually walked through this park with Prince William and Princess Catherine when they were doing their Scandinavian tour. And yes, I still don't know why they did the Scandinavian tour in the winter. I don't know why you would do that, but it was lovely to see. I do want to experience Scandinavia in the winter, like Sweden or Oslo, because like it's going to be dark so much of the day, like around the Nobel Prizes, that I just want to experience that a little bit because I just think that would be so weird. And so according to the royal website, she enjoys sports, including skiing and outdoor sports, and her family surfs, and they go to a place in Norway where the water is very cold and they surf. So they're very, very active family, and definitely get that sense of that. They do a lot of things outdoors. Obviously, skiing and winter sports are a huge thing in Norway and Sweden. So that is great to see. And she had this fantastic 18th birthday gala. And so go ahead, take a watch of a little bit of this here.
Mamma, vi kan snakke sammen om alt. Takk for at vi kan ligge på sofaen sammen og se på serier som Sex and the City. Pappa, takk for at du tar oss med på ski og surf og alle mulige aktiviteter. Jeg veldig takknemlig for at dere støtter meg, og jeg vet at dere alltid kommer til å gjøre det. Jeg veldig glad I dere.
So I just really thought that was amazingly lovely to see just so many royals attending, and it was the first official tiara appearance we saw for Catherine Amalia and Princess Elizabeth as well. So very excited. And so some of the challenges that I think Ingrid Alexandra faces is probably really, I think, more in a personal way, her mother's health. Her mother has chronic pulmonary fibrosis, and she recently took several weeks off. So I think this will be something that impacts Ingrid and her brother as they move forward. So she has a younger brother in addition to her older half brother. And so I think this will be a challenge for the family, and maybe something where her father has to lean on her more for official royal engagements because Mette-Marit cannot attend for health reasons. So I think that might happen to Ingrid, and she might get pulled into things more and earlier than maybe she initially intended. And I think the advantage is that I believe Norway is a pretty popular monarchy and it's very progressive. And I think they're very open to things and everything. And I don't think there's much pressure there in the same way. I feel like it's a very relaxed atmosphere over there in Norway compared to pretty much every other royal family. Okay guys, so next one we are going to talk about is the only man on our list. Yes, the future is female in Europe, except when it comes to Denmark, because we have Prince Christian, who was born on October 15th, 2005 to his parents, Crown Prince Frederik and Crown Princess Mary of Denmark. And so what's interesting about his name is that it's actually a 4-century-old tradition to alternate between Christian and Frederik when it comes to the names of the kings. So his great-grandfather was King Christian of Denmark, and then the next in line was Queen Marguerite, and obviously she is a woman, so she didn't get the naming convention that her son and father got and grandson. So she is Queen Marguerite II of Denmark. And a friend I know gave me a coin recently from Denmark that had her insignia on it and a little crown. I thought it was really cool. But Queen Marguerite got in on the trend and she named her son Frederik, and Frederik named his first son Christian. And so if Christian has a son, his first son, if he's going to be king, will be named Frederik if he keeps with the naming convention. So not very exciting, but you know, it's still cool. And so he has participated now in the Council of State meetings, and so he can actually be appointed as regent. This was part of all his birthday celebrations, and most of these royals go through something where they pledge an oath to the Constitution because they have a very particular role. No other 18-year-old says, yes, I will follow the Constitution of the United States. I mean, those who are in the military do, but as a royal, you're basically signing yourself over to the state for the rest of your life. Now, royalty is very different than military service, but it is very much a commitment. I don't think people always appreciate that, but this is a huge commitment and something that will encompass the remainder of your life, and you don't get necessarily a ton of choice here. But I think there's a maturity in accepting that your life will be different, but seeing the beauty of that. And I think Queen Elizabeth II is a great example of how you can do that. So he will concentrate his next couple years on studying and will not take a salary, which he will probably start maybe taking when he's about 21. And because I think he's the only prince of his generation, really, except for Prince George, once Prince George enters into the things, whew, the world will rapidly change, guys. Just saying right now, Prince George and then Prince Louis, once they become of age, like the girls will be just throwing themselves at him. But Prince Christian has already experienced a little bit of this because every girl dreams of marrying a prince, let's be honest, especially if that prince is going to become a king. Every woman dreams of that. Although we do have Harry and Meghan now, so that dream I feel like has died a smidge. It's died a little bit since then. But he actually got caught up in a rumor regarding Princess Maria Chiara of Bourbon to Sicily's. And so I thought this was kind of interesting because when it first came out, I was like, oh, that's so cute, two young royals getting together. Isn't that adorable? I did think it was honestly adorable. But when it came out later, that really, it just seemed like Princess Maria and her sister were trying to drum up interest in themselves by connecting Prince Christian, who is a friend of theirs actually, in a relationship. So I think, I wonder if it's the first time Prince Christian really felt the burn of somebody who was creating a relationship just to bring attention to themselves, because after this whole story came out, you saw a lot of the girls, so it just felt like a coordinated media effort to get more attention and eyes on them. So I wonder if he's feeling a bit of the sting from that. If he does, I do feel sorry for him. So if he was maybe interested. Although I did think it was really cute because Prince Christian and Princess Ingrid Alexandra, they sat next to each other at his birthday celebration. So it was his grandmother on one side and Princess Ingrid Alexandra on another side. And Amalia and Princess Elizabeth were all seated in different sections. So I think Ingrid Alexandra and Prince Christian are actually very close, and it would be really cute if they got together. I mean, I know that would be really hard because they're two nations, but it would just be so cute. It'd just be so cute. And just a little bit of background about Christian as well. And we honestly don't have that much about his hobbies and things. I think he does enjoy running. It seems to be something the family enjoys doing. They do a lot of outdoor activities like all Scandinavian countries do, especially winter sports. I believe they go skiing every year as a family. And apparently though, there was a Scandinavian Airlines plane purchased and it was named after him. And his first royal engagement was the opening of an elephant house with his grandfather, Prince Henrik. And he seemed to be close to his grandfather because when he became of age, they actually gave him the Order of the Elephant, so that's the highest order in Denmark. So it's like the Order of the Garter there in the United Kingdom. And so they gave him his grandfather's old one because his grandfather passed away several years ago now. So I thought that was a very sweet touch. So this is the consort of Queen Margrethe. And he has also visited Australia several times because his mother is Australian. So he spent a lot of time down under, as they say. And so he speaks not only Danish, but English and probably even a bit of French as well, because Prince Henrik was French. He was born Henri. And so much of the family does speak French and other languages as well. So I imagine he speaks a bit of that too, although we have no confirmation. Again, I really appreciate Belgium and Norway for giving us good details. And obviously Ingrid Alexander speaks Norwegian and English and probably a bit of Swedish, because Norwegian and Swedish are somewhat similar. One of my followers, Chris, hi Chris, she says there's, and I can't remember now, there's like a term they have that's just kind of, you know, it's not like Spanglish, but it's sort of like that Norwegian, Swedish something. Norwegian, I can't remember what it is, but it kind of mashes them together because they can mostly understand each other. And so what challenges does Prince Christian have? And I alluded to it a little bit. I think his biggest challenge will be dating. He's one of the few royal men of his generation, because before you had Crown Prince Haakon, Crown Prince Frederik, you had Prince Wilhelm Alexander, so the Prince of Orange at the time, you had Prince Philippe, and so you had a lot more men. This time most of the generation is female, and I hate to say it, but it is sort of a stereotype that I think does hold, that a lot more women are interested in marrying princes and being the princess than sometimes men are interested in marrying a princess who will become queen, and yet they will always be a prince. That is a hard dynamic, especially considering in Denmark. So it's kind of interesting. As Prince Henrik was in the process of dying, he made the declaration that he didn't want to be buried next to his wife, and he's sort of basically separated from her. Not in any legal sense, but you could just tell he was always very, very hurt that he wasn't made king when she became queen. And I'm sure that was explained to him many, many times. But he insisted on being called Prince Consort, like he really wanted to be king or has some sort of higher title, and really miffed him that he never got one. So obviously Prince Christian has a different dynamic, because I think he'll have many, many young ladies throwing themselves at him, as he saw with Princess Maria Chiara. So obviously it'll be interesting to see how he manages all the newfound attention he's getting, because there was even a Cinderella shoe attempt at the 18th birthday celebrations. This girl, she wore some shoes. She left one of them at the party, Cinderella style, and there was this great social media post from the palace. And she said she didn't think or desire for Prince Christian to come give her the shoe back, but I'm like, do I believe that? I'm not sure I do. So interesting thing there to consider as well. And the benefit though is that the Danish monarchy is very, very popular. Queen Margrethe has a high approval rating. I think their approval rating and the popularity of the monarchy is in like the 80th percentile or 80%, which is very extremely high. So there's a lot of love for the Danish monarchy, but Queen Margrethe has also reigned for over 50 years. And so the transition to Frederik, that'll be interesting to see, because the most vulnerable time in a business or country or whatever is in the transition period. That transition of power from one party or group to another. And so we will see that, especially after somebody has reigned for so long, as in the case with Queen Margrethe. So we shall see how that goes. Okay, next on our list, and our final one, is the one who most recently celebrated her birthday, although Prince Christian it was a couple weeks ago for him as well. And this is Princess Leonor of Spain, the Princess of Asturias. So she has several titles, by the way. So her titles include Princess of Girona, Princess of Viana, Duchess of Montblanc, Countess of Cervera, and Lady of Balaguer. So many, many titles, because Spain is a very ancient monarchy. Some of the monarchies we've talked about are very young, including Belgium, the Netherlands, and Norway. Norway, I think, is the youngest. Belgium not too far behind. The Netherlands is a little bit older, but I don't think they really started introducing princes and the concepts of kings until 1700s, maybe even 1800s. So it was, they started out with princes and eventually had somebody become king. So the Prince of Orange was a title. And so it was a bit of a different governmental system, but Spain obviously is a very, very ancient monarchy. And so there's a lot of titles attached with her, much like in the UK as well. And so she was born on October 31st, 2005. So she is a Halloween baby. And apparently, as excitement built up for her 18th birthday, honestly, we don't know a ton about her in some ways, because the Spanish monarchy has a very interesting challenge. So, and I will say this will be Leonor's challenge as she goes through her reign, which is the disastrous end of King Juan Carlos's reign. King Juan Carlos, her grandfather, was exceptionally popular for much of his reign. Perhaps some of that, though, got a little bit to his head because he ended up getting involved in a series of scandals related to affairs and money and everything. And even his daughter also got caught up in some tax fraud situations. So essentially, King Juan Carlos had to abdicate in favor of his son. And so Philippe and his wife, Letizia, inherited a very precarious throne. I would say it was even more precarious than Belgium. And because of that, they've been very, very careful to shield their daughters in a lot of ways, and yet at the same time also have them doing lots of royal engagements. We actually see them quite a bit. And that is in part because not only is it important, but it also is a way to connect the public to their children. So they've run a very savvy media campaign in a lot of ways, but this has resulted in a huge level of interest in Leonor, which has become known as Leonor Mania. And it sort of got kicked off in part because one of the cadets, so she actually did a whole ceremony kissing the flag and swearing an oath to serve the military and the crown and everything. And as part of that, she met with a series of cadets in the palace. And one of them apparently told her, "How beautiful you look, Bourbon." And I think I had a little bit of that shot. And that the guy had the gall to do that in front of the king and queen was awesome. But she is quite beautiful, I do have to say. And so I think she will become probably one of the most eligible young ladies in Europe. But she does have an interesting situation as well because of the Spanish throne and the precariousness of it. She's actually doing a military academy, I think, instead of probably going to what she would prefer to go to, which is college. So she's doing 3.5 years of a military academy. Now she may go to university after that, but I think this is a way too of her to probably get some college courses while at the same time looking like she's doing something that's directly benefiting the country, which is going through military service. So she's hanging around with a lot of cadets, so I would not be surprised in the slightest if her first official boyfriend is a young man from the military academy, because every young man usually looks good in a uniform. So it's just fun to read some of the articles about her, especially this Leonor Mania situation, because I wasn't quite expecting that. And so one of them says that the image that Leonor gives is that of being where she needs to be. She makes no statements. There are no gratuitous images of her at home or partying. That's why people see her for what she is, the future queen and head of state. We have seen in the past that communication campaigns with other members of the royal family have not gone well. Image campaigns are very carefully studied. A series of requirements and appearances have to be met. However, what has been done with Leonor is the exact opposite. They have protected her from these communications campaigns, both through her communication, her verbal and nonverbal behavior. She always shows that she is very natural and happy. You never see rude gestures or bad manners, not because these images are censored, but because she is not like that. Another talked about how she is charismatic, discreet, prudent, and normal. And as I was reading through this, I couldn't help but see the comparison between her and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, that this young woman can exude discretion, prudence, just all these great qualities I think make a great royal. And the two of them together, who are twice her age, more than twice her age, could not do that. It's really startling to see, again, that royalty comes with certain requirements and certain behaviors that are not always maybe what you want to do. But I also think as well, this is how she's been raised and she's actually comfortable in it and she doesn't have to fake it because she is that. I mean, I think she is also very aware of the precariousness of the throne and her parents' very diligent efforts to make sure they secure it for her future. But she also is doing her part as well. So she's not doing the nice thing in the royal work and then going in and partying. As far as we know, she's not doing any of that. Although she did get a party after her 18th birthday, but seemed to be attended by not only friends, but also relatives. So it's not like it was a huge fun shindig. Although I will say, I do have something in common with Princess Leonor, and she does have a second piercing up here like I do, which I thought was really cool. When I saw that, I was like, yay, Princess Leonor. Again, it's not much. I just like the aesthetic of the two. Sometimes I think of getting more, but I tried one in the cartilage and that didn't go well. So I just thought that was really, really cool. And she will be the first queen regent since Isabel II, who ruled from 1830 to 1904. It's a long reign. That's a long reign. Hopefully hers will not be quite that long. But like I said, her greatest challenge will be keeping the throne. Because again, she has a lot of baggage from her family coming into her reign whenever that might happen to be. Her parents, I think, are doing a great job rehabbing the image of the Spanish monarchy. But most of those scandals are 10 years old or less. And so they still have, I think, a lot of work to do. And they still have to be very diligent about it because there are a lot of Republican efforts within Spain. But so far, I think she's done the really good thing and obviously kept her nose clean. And I love too that she is doing the military academy. I know some people are like, well, she probably doesn't want to. And I'm like, I'm sure she doesn't, but it's a good idea because again, it makes you seem service oriented, even maybe if you're not. I mean, as a royal, you kind of have to be, but makes her seem service oriented and that she's not going to some sort of prissy secondary school. She's going to a military academy, which so many other Spaniards do. That's what's smart about it. Yes, she went to a private college up in Wales. She went to the same school that Princess Elizabeth went to, and also Princess Alexia, who is another royal who turned 18 this year. But she's the second in line for the throne, so I didn't want to include her because this is all about our future king and queens. But again, it makes her seem more approachable that she's going to the military academy instead of going to some place like Yale or Harvard. It makes her seem more connected, I think, to the people, which is what her parents were going for, and I think was a really, really smart move. And we will see, she may go on and do other bits of education as well, but I'm super excited to see where Leonor is going in the future because I think the future is bright for Spain. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got to learn more about Elizabeth, Amalia, Ingrid, Alexandra, Christian, and Leonor as well. And I hope you are super excited for our future generation of royals. I think this will be amazing to see how all these royals come to the forefront. And it won't be too long before we are celebrating the 18th birthday of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. And once that happens, guys, royal mania surrounding the UK will be hyped up to 11. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.